Welcome into the Voice of College Football Ohio State channel. This is our post game for the Marshall game. Please do like and subscribe. We appreciate you being here. Let us know that you're here in the chat. Don't be a stranger. Say hello. I'm here with my guy Mike. Mike, how you doing today, man?
Doing good, man. Just glad we was able to come out with the dub. And as our guy Urban Meyer likes to say, best thing about going 3-0, chance to go 4-0.
That's right. It was a little hairy there in the first half. Marshall had their drive early, and then Ohio State, what was it, like the second play? Nekabuka takes it 70-some yards and goes for a touchdown. You're not going to complain about the 70-yard play, but it did seem like we saw a whole lot of offense there in the first half. That was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, before we get into it, Mike, man, I saw so many people talking about it on Twitter. I was talking about it myself, man. What'd you think of Joel Klatt, dude?
What do you mean? What do I think about Joel Klatt, man? It's very weird because I thought that him and Gus Johnson did a really good job of not being very biased, right? And it's just so weird because he starts out talking about, there's a chance for this Marshall team to pull up the upset. And it's like it doesn't go to what you have been saying in the offseason about this Ohio State team. Like I don't understand it, man. It seems like there's some hate or some sour blood from Joel Klatt, or maybe he picked his side in the rivalry. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I know he's hearing from Ohio State fans on Twitter right now, so maybe he's checking his mentions a little too much. I don't know, but I mean, I don't know what you think you're supposed to get when you go on Colin Cowherd's show earlier this week and you're saying, "Oh, yeah, it wasn't actually Michigan that cheated; it was TCU." They were talking to other coaches. It's like, no, Joel, you don't know the rules of the game. Apparently, if you think TCU cheated, but not Michigan. So, that was absolutely wild. And I just felt like the entire time, like he was pointing out the Marshall players, like this guy's had a great season, this guy's done this guy's done that, and it's like, man, are you ever going to point out an Ohio State player? You ever going to talk about something an Ohio State player did? No, because You don't care. So. It was wild. And Rod is pointing it out in the chat. How awful was that officiating crew today? That was the other thing I was going to talk about, man. So many commercials, so many stoppages of play. I mean, they had to huddle up for everything. That touchdown, the second touchdown, which, it wasn't great coverage. So sure, I get it. They probably deserved to score if the ball wasn't too high, but his foot was definitely out of bounds. Am I right?
Oh no, man. I can't say that you can confirm it because, see, here's the thing. When they kept freezing it on, like, the foot part being down. But it's the toe. I think his toe was actually in when he caught the ball. So that was just my thing. I was like, give him the score. It is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I in the reality, like I said, they probably deserved it. I didn't really care all that much because it was bad defense and it is Marshall. Like, I'm not concerned that, they're going to come out and win that game. Plus up 28-14. That defense, there was no way it was going to stop Ohio State. But still, man, it's just like those refs all game. It was like, what in the world can we do? So, and of course, Rod is updating us on the Michigan game. I got it on right here, Rod. No worries.
Michigan. Yeah, we definitely. I think we both got it on. we are ready.
Listen, I don't bet very much, but I would say if there was a bet out there, Michigan got a punt or score on their first possession, punt would have been a pretty heavy favorite. All right. Well, hey, we got most of, I think, the people in here that was going to be listening. So let's go ahead and start talking about it, Mike. The first let's start with the offense, right? That was kind
Hmm.
of the positive of it all. Let's start there. Second play of the game, Mecca Buka takes a screen pass, goes 70 some yards for the touchdown. I mean, the blocking downfield was fantastic. I saw Seth McLaughlin like 15, 20 yards downfield blocking guys. I mean, that's the kind of effort, that's the kind of stuff I want to see out of this offensive line. Down the field, it's not just the wide receivers, down the field blocking, getting these guys open, getting them holes to get to the end zone. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, coming right out the gate, doing that, everybody was wondering, hey, where's Emeka Egbuka been? And he showed where he's been. He's right there, just ready and willing to make a play when his time is called. And I seen some people were saying this is the fastest that he's ever looked, and I'm like, no, if you remember, like us talking about them having dead legs because we weren't rotating guys in and weren't, subbing those guys out. And then you see the Georgia game, then you're like, oh my gosh, Emeka Egbuka has this speed. He's always had the speed, and I'm just glad that they were able to get him incorporated into the offense, man. It just shows the level of weapons that we have here at Ohio State. I think people just need to go ahead and enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, I think Mekabuka looks stronger. I think it looks bigger, and maybe he is a little bit slower. Who knows? But at the end of the day, he housed that thing, ran out everybody, and that's what you want, right? You want the blocking
Mm-hmm.
downfield. You want him to be able to get to the end zone. Quinshawn almost got caught on his as well, but that was even further. That was like 90, 80 yards or something like that. So had a little bit more time to catch up. But yeah, I mean I think the big plays is really the story of this game on offense. I mean, I think Marshall had the ball like at one point starting the fourth quarter. They had like 10 plus minutes of possession time, but Ohio State had 500 total yards to Marshall's like 220 or something
Yeah.
like that. Like it's just absolutely ridiculous how much Ohio State was just dominating on offense every single play, big plays, and even when they weren't getting the big plays, they were still moving the ball efficiently. It was just spectacular to see, big play wise. You have any other thoughts on any other big plays, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, it was so weird to me, I guess a lot of people aren't happy that we got Jeremiah Smith. But man, I'm happy that he is a Buckeye because some people were
Mhm.
saying, oh, he's getting locked up by the Marshall receivers. Boom. You look at him, goes out, makes a play, and they were just talking about it when they were doing the miles per hour. He had the initial burst to just go ahead, hit almost 23 miles an hour, and then just throttles down and jogs in. It's just amazing. The level of athletes that we have. But I remember telling you all in the off season that, and probably like on the back end of the year last year, that this wide receiver core is going to be special because of the yards after catch that they will get. I think that was something that has kind of been missing in the offense since Chris and Garrett has left. Yeah, we have it every now and again, but we're seeing it every game, all the time. I mean, and like you said, the blocking downfield, the fact that these wide receivers are, I mean, sprinting to make the blocks for their guys, it's almost night and day from what we have seen the past couple years.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I love the blocking downfield from everybody. The offensive line is getting out there blocking downfield. Your wide receivers. We don't quite have Justin Fields running down the field like we did back in 2019, 2020 to block for his guys, but you still got a ton of guys down there blocking downfield. It's a beauty to see. Now, unfortunately, it wasn't all positive on offense. I do think we got to talk about a few of the negatives. First turnover of the season. Will Howard throws an interception, maybe trusting JJ Smith a little bit too much. I mean, that seemed like to me it was kind of like he was saying, JJ, go get it. But unfortunately, JJ got a little bit walled off. He was kind of towing the end line, the sideline there, so he didn't want to go out of bounds. But at the same time, I think that Marshall player just made a good play on the ball. Will Howard probably should have never thrown it. What were your thoughts, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that I have been worried about is Will Howard on the deep ball. And I mean, it's a 50-50 ball. What they told Will Howard is to throw him. I mean, we've heard it. Ryan Day, they've said like a 50-50 ball to Jeremiah is more like a 90-10, or an 80-20 ball. So I mean, you're trusting him to make that. I do think that the throw could be better. I also believe that Will Howard has to be able to throw better with anticipation. I think that the ball came out a little bit late. I think if you go ahead and lead your wide receiver a little bit, I think JJ can probably come up with that ball. So and make an athletic play because that's what he is. that that was my biggest worry, something that I was hoping that they would work on. And then we saw it later in the game where I think again I was like, oh, he could get that ball out quick on that deep ball, throw with some anticipation, but he actually didn't. He looked right off of it, didn't even want any part of that after his interception. So it kind of makes me nervous. That is something that we're going to have to watch out for.
Yeah, and I definitely think like I'm less concerned about the deep ball concerns, not because I think Will Howard is a better thrower, but because I think this run game is so dynamic, and I think we saw that today with Quinshawn and Trevion. I mean, literally anytime those guys touch the ball, they can go for six. It doesn't matter where you're at on the field. It doesn't matter, what defense is out there. I think both of those guys are strong enough and shifty enough, and they have good enough vision that they can take it for six. Now, does
Yeah.
that mean that we never need, a big pass play? No, of course not. We want Will Howard to get better at that. We want him and the receivers to be more in sync with that. But I'm less concerned about it than I was before. But of course, it's Ohio State, so we never want to see anything not be good. We always want to see
Right.
everything be excellent. So we're not gonna we're not gonna act like it's not a big deal. Another piece of it, Mike, was Josh Fryer gives up a big sack on third down. Now, I will say that defensive end had a really nice spin move. Klatt was just talking about him right before he did it, so it almost seems like Klatt knew what was coming. But it's a little bit of a concern to see Josh Fryer getting spun like that. He is a little stiff. What were your thoughts, Mike?
Yeah, that was something, another concern of the offseason was wondering, did Josh Fryer get his footwork better? And I'm not sure that he did. It's going to be something that's a concern going in the Big Ten play. Hopefully he can get better, but maybe, that's teach tape. You learn from it and you move on. But my whole thing is was our defensive ends not doing that? Like you have to have seen this before. What is the technique? Is he not trusting the technique? We heard Ryan Day in the past few press conferences keep talking about the offensive line. You're doing this against Tyleek. You're doing this against JTT and Jack Sawyer. Trust your technique. I wonder if that's the issue.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. It's a good point. Definitely got to figure out what's going on with Josh Fryer in that situation. I felt like he was pretty solid in run blocking today. I didn't see a whole lot of missed assignments or anything like that. So, I can't really critique him there, but definitely on a third down, you got to make sure you're locked down and not letting somebody get to the quarterback. And props to that. I think his last name was Green. Props to him on being able to tackle Will Howard in the backfield because that's been a hard thing for people to do so far this season. One more thing on offense, Mike, because we had somebody bring it up. I think. Oh, Steven brought it up. He says saying it to him is QB2 tired of parading Devin Brown out there. I have some thoughts on this, but Mike, I'll let you go first. I mean, it was only like what 6 passes, and this is kind of
Yeah.
garbage time, stuff like that. Any thoughts on Sayin and Devin Brown?
I mean, here's my thing. I don't think that there's any point of rushing saying there's things that he could probably still do developmental wise as well. And I mean, yeah, we seen him go out there. He had a couple good passes and things, but I mean, Devin Brown, is QB2, but you could just tell how vanilla it was when he's out there. I just don't feel like when Devin Brown's in the game, he's obviously not out there with the ones. So that, when all off season, he's been practicing with the ones for, getting reps and everything to figure out who's QB1. So that could also be an issue, him having to get chemistry with these other guys as well. Offensive line, backup offensive line, they need to, things to get worked on. They have some development to do as well. So that could just be be part of it. I mean, I don't think right now that there's anything to worry about. Like if Devin Brown needed to be the guy, I think the coaching staff would figure it out. I mean, look at what Chip Kelly did to get uh Will Howard back in rhythm after throwing the interception. Look at how he got the team back with the momentum. So I just think Chip Kelly, he knows these guys' strengths, he knows their weaknesses, and really it just looked like the offense, we were just trying to get out of there. Because I do think that there were opportunities that could have been had, and I don't think we really tried.
Yeah, they were definitely weren't opening things up. They definitely weren't trying to, give Devin Brown opportunities, and I'm not blaming them by any means. There's some throws there. I mean, Devin Brown has to make those throws. There were a couple
Mhm.
screens, and he has to make those throws if he wants to solidify QB2. We'll see what happens in the future. I'm just praying that Will Howard stays healthy all season, and we never have to
Facts.
worry about any of this stuff because Will Howard. I mean, we talked about his deep ball and stuff like that, but he's a good decision maker, man. He is reading these guys. That's definitely something about him that I wasn't anticipating going into all this is how he's able to read the defense and make the right decisions. And so that's going to be difficult for anybody, whether it's Julian Say and Devin Brown, to go in and do. And that's something you definitely want to do well. We do have Doug Shepard Sr. He's asking about Donovan Jackson playing beside Seth for the first time. Did it affect the line? I felt like the line was pretty good today, other than maybe a couple times by Josh Fryer in the pass rush and stuff. And like I said, Seth McLaughlin was downfield blocking like 15, 20 yards downfield. I didn't really see too many issues with the offensive line today. What do you think, Mike?
No, I didn't see too many issues with the offensive line either. And to be honest, it just looked like I would say that left side of the offensive line, you can expect to count on them a whole lot in the running game. That's where Ohio State feels like their strength is. And I've seen, especially on those like counter plays, those guys on the left side, Donovan Jackson, he looked like he was out there wanting to hit people, holding guys up. I mean, that's what you want to see. And yeah, you could see like a little bit of, rust, things like that. But there wasn't a drop off on the offensive line. And that's what you wanted to go out there and see. Make sure that there was no drop off. Make sure everybody's going out there and that there's still some chemistry. And it looks like there's still chemistry out there to me. So shout out to the offensive line because they're the reason why we rushed for what over 200 yards. So, maybe what 300? Nah,
Uh,
200, 250 something.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up the
It's
stats. The
over.
way that Fox does their stats is really weird, and of course
Yeah,
ESPN doesn't have any stats for this game because they're mad. 280 rushing yards total
there
in
you
this
go.
game. So,
Knew it was
yeah,
north of
nearly
200.
300 yards. That's good to see. Yeah, I felt like Donovan Jackson was the definite upgrade over Austin Sierreveld, and no disrespect to Sierreveld and stuff. He did well filling in for him, but yeah, he was not doing bad at all today for Donovan Jackson. I really like that duo between the two. So good stuff from those two together. All right, I think we should move on to the defense
Hold
here
on,
now,
before we do
Mike.
that, I'll
Okay.
say this. You know how coaches always say you want to be 50-50 when it comes to things on offense. 289 total yards in passing, 280 in rushing. That's basically almost 50-50, man. That's what you want, right? So go ahead, my bad. I just wanted to get that out there. I did want to say like we look like the balanced attack that we've been saying that we wanted to see all offseason.
No, I agree. I agree. And I think if you probably look at like the big play numbers, the number of big plays in the passing game probably are similar to the number of big plays in the running game too. So now most of those passing are short passes that, JJ and Emeka took really, really far. So it's not necessarily a deep ball, but still big plays on both sides of the ball or both ways passing and rushing the ball too. So all right, defense. Mike started off a little rocky. We had the very first drive of the game. Marshall travels right down the field, and I thought like at some point I was like, okay, well, they're gonna get pressure on the quarterback. He's gonna make an error pass, or somebody's gonna break up a pass here, and it kind of never happen? So like I was like, man, I know this defense is not bad. Like I know this is one of the best defenses in the nation, but it sure didn't look like it on that very first drive. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, so it was like Jim Knowles was just allowing them to dink and dunk down the field, almost like bend but don't break. But they were able to sustain, and the reason why is they were getting a lot of push um up front, especially on Hero Canoe. One thing that I was realizing is if in their formation, if they were able to get Sonny Styles right there in the box, right, what they were able to do is just go ahead and run right at Sonny Styles because he's not coming downhill, pushing that blocker back and things like that. So they knew, okay, we can get 3-4 yards out of this, even though he might make the tackle but our running back can go ahead push for a couple more yards. And that's what you saw. And that's how they were able to sustain drives. I mean, the first drive, 13 plays, 75 yards, 6 minutes and 46 seconds, almost 7 minutes. How many minutes is in the in a quarter? 15?
Yeah. It's pretty much half of the quarter. That's immediately what I thought too as well when I first saw that happening. I was like, man, that's like half of it there, just in one drive. So you don't want to see that. And I do think that there was a little bit of some stuff that could have gone either way. Like I think the punch out fumble was a really good thing. I forget who did that. I think that was Lathan Ransom,
Yeah, like
maybe
the
that
ransom.
that punched the ball. Like that was excellent. That was good to see that happening. Unfortunately, the ball did just kind of trickle over to the sideline, and nobody could really pick it up. So obviously, that we don't want to see that. But I think it was a good play by Latham there. And then they did stop Marshall a couple times, but then they did
Mhm.
eventually punch the ball into the end zone. So yeah, I agree. You don't want to see long, sustaining drives like that, especially against an opponent like Marshall. I do wonder how much of Tyleek being out affected that, just not able to get pressure up the middle as much. When I heard Tyleek wasn't going, I thought, all right, big game opportunity for Caden McDonald and Hero Canoe and
Mhm.
those guys, they just weren't getting the pass rush, especially on the first drive there, as I thought they might have been able to get. So credit to the Marshall offensive line. But if we're going to have a guy on the defensive line like Tyleek Williams out, we got to make sure the depth is coming in and they're getting good pass rush in on him.
I think the coaches should have had K Mac out there
Mm.
to go ahead and start the game. I know some people were saying that he's not the every down, defensive line, but in a game like this against Marshall, I think you go out there, you set the tone on defense, and you stop it. Even like they scored on that goal line stand. But look at what he was able to do. He was able to make sure that offensive lineman did not sustain his hands on him. And I mean, he almost stopped him short. It made the
Mm-hmm.
tackle really on the other side where another defensive tackle should have been making that play. I mean, even though he went over. So I think, you go ahead, you got to play the best players. I also believe I want to see a little bit more out of Arvell Reese because one thing I do know, he will come downhill and push something back. Now, he does have some things to work on, but I just love his downhill aggressiveness on the line from the linebacker position.
Yeah, and the linebackers took some heat today. There were some people not too happy with the way Sonny Styles was playing and things like that. I'm glad that we do have guys like Arvell Reese and others like that ready to step up and play. Felt like CJ Hicks had a couple moments today where things were looking okay for him, so I was glad to see
Hmm.
that. But do you have any thoughts on the running backs and maybe some of the people's critiques they had of them?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was fair. This was something that I felt we talked about all off season about Sonny Styles. Yeah, he had been playing in the box, almost like the outside linebacker position or whatever in the nose defense, but from the safety position, right? Well, moving him closer in the box, sometimes having him as the Mike backer, which I spoke on earlier. And one thing that we're just not seeing from Sonny is, like I said, there's plays where if you go watch linebacker play, teach tape, if a guard's coming down pulling and that running back is coming, you have to meet that guard or that pulling tight end or whoever. You have to meet them in the hole and push them back. Make sure that they're not getting their hands on you at all. And sometimes you would just see Sonny give up his body. But like you said, we do have the depth there at linebacker. I think that instead, I think our coaches just need to go ahead and say, hey, we have to set the tone. We have the guys where we can rotate. And I think that we need to go ahead and create packages because some of these guys play better in certain situations. And I don't understand why we are so against having packages.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a bit of a perplexing thing. I just like to see whoever's playing best that game get in the most, right? I mean, if Arvell Reese is the one playing the best, if Cody Simon's playing the best, now you're not going to take Cody Simon off the field for long periods of time. He's the leader of that defense. Where's the block O? All that stuff. So you're not going to see him coming off the field for an extended period of time. But especially with that other linebacker spot, if Arvell Reese is playing best that day, you keep Arvell Reese in there more. If Sonny Styles playing
Facts.
best that day, you keep Sonny Styles playing more. For me, it just looked like Sonny was still a little getting used to being so close to the line of scrimmage, right? It was
Mm-hmm.
still, he was back at safety last year, and I know he's got 2 games under his belt, but he just got to get used to continuing to play close to the line of scrimmage and meeting those guys, like you said, and pushing them back, meeting those big fellas, the guards and tackles, all those guys, and pushing them back and trying to make those holes difficult for the running back to get through. So,
You know what? You know what used to work on stuff like that they don't really
what?
allow anymore. Oklahoma drills and
Oh
nut
yeah.
cracking because you had to come downhill. You ain't had
Yep.
no choice. So I wish we could get back to that to stuff like that, man.
Yeah, yeah. Oklahoma drills, those are brutal, but man, they teach you so much. Do they teach you so
Mm,
much? It's a tough drill, but if it's not tough, it's not worth doing, right? So,
facts.
all
Teach.
right. Hey, listen, one of the defensive linemen that was playing the best all game was my guy Caden Curry, and Caden Curry, he got the ejection today. Now it was like right before the second half, so I'm glad it was. He's not going to be out for next game too, so he got a little lucky with the timing of it all. But
Mm-hmm.
man, I get we want to protect these guys. I get that, and maybe complaining about the rule is the wrong thing. I don't know, but like he obviously had no bad intentions there. Like the
Yeah.
quarterback had his, and he was keeping his head up. Like it wasn't like he was putting his head down trying to drive the guy and trying to hurt himself or hurt the other guy. Like I don't, sometimes as a defensive player, I don't know what you're supposed to do, because even when you do the right thing, you're still getting hit with a call. And you could see Caden, like as soon as that play, or as soon as that ball was thrown and he turned and he saw the flag, he was like he knew it. Like he knew what was gonna happen. He knew he was gonna
Yeah.
be out of that game. And I felt for him, man.
I don't think maybe he knew he was going to be out of the game because I don't think that the targeting call was the right call, but I think a personal foul call should have been the right call. And the reason why is Caden for a minute in that play, he was committed to going after the quarterback, and then he stopped and then did what he did. That's why the flag I felt at first. That's why the flag I felt came out because if you had it committed, you'd have been fine. But it was that pause, and I mean that's why I don't believe you don't go high. I mean, it's defense is taught you're taught that way. You don't go up high, and like I said, he just should have committed instead of taking the pause. And probably, like I said, you don't go high, you don't get no penalty. So
Yeah, yeah.
teach
It's so
tape.
tough. Yep, yep. It's so tough when you're a defensive player. You can't go this way. You can't do that way. You can't do this. You can't do that. I mean, I get it. We want to keep the guys safe, and we want to, have them, be able to continue playing and not get hurt, and especially the
Yeah,
head injuries and stuff like that. But man, I do feel for these defensive players
yeah, it
sometimes,
was
because it
nothing
just seems
malicious
like,
about it.
yeah, it just seems like no matter what you do, something inevitably is going to happen, and it's going to go against you. So, all right, Mike. Anything else on the defensive side of the ball you want to touch on?
Man, Lathan Ransom was all over the place, making plays early. I like seeing that. Um, he could have been a little bit better in coverage for sure, but there's other things that went into that scoring play that other people aren't going to talk about. Definitely think that you should go back, watch the film on that, and you'll know what I'm talking about. So, um, I mean, I definitely want to give a shout out to Lathan Ransom. I've been expecting a big year for him now. A lot of Buckeye fans say, "Oh, against the smaller teams and the teams we're supposed to beat, that's when he shows up." But the bigger games, that's when he has issues. I don't think that's going to be the case this year for Lathan Ransom. The guy's locked in, and I just expect him to continue making plays. I don't think it matters who you're going up against when you're going in for the tackle and able to knock the ball out like that. That's what he was going for. So, I mean, I'm really excited for this season with Lathan Ransom. Also paired with Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs coming downhill, making plays. The secondary can get better in coverage, but I do feel like we played vanilla. Once you saw like Jim Knowles bringing the corners up, playing man to man, because I didn't like the off man. I did not like it because we were giving up too much underneath. But when they start going press man, they were good. I like that. So you know what you have in your defense. Go to the strength of your defense.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And I do think that for the coverage, it did not help them at points when the pass rush wasn't getting home. And then Jim Knowles felt like he started having to bring the linebackers, and then you just had nobody behind the defensive line, right? I mean, you had nobody back there, and that also attributed to some of the issues with the quarterback run and that stuff. But I mean, if you if you're getting your four guys home on the defensive line, you don't have to blitz. You're able to drop those linebackers back in coverage, and those slants and stuff like that over the middle that Marshall was getting away with. Those wouldn't be happening as much. Unfortunately for them, the pass rush just wasn't there today, and I think that's where it all starts and stops with this Ohio State team after this game. And I think that that's really going to be the determining factor in a lot of games with what Jim Knowles is going to do. And what that allows us is, how does the pass rush get home? Is the pass rush putting pressure on the quarterback? Should have been putting pressure on the quarterback. Now, I think Marshall has a pretty good offensive line. This is one of the better sized offensive lines in the G5. So I'm not trying to say that they are a bad offensive line and disrespect them at all. But still, this is still a G5 offensive line. You should be able to get pressure on them. You got JT, you got Jack. Even though Tyleek wasn't in there, you still had Ty Hamilton, Hero Canoe. I mean, you had guys who should be able to get to the quarterback. And so I think for them going up against Michigan State, that's something they're going to really need to challenge themselves with, is getting pressure on the quarterback, so that way everybody else in the defense can do what they are supposed to do, and you don't have to bring extra guys and help them.
Agreed. Couldn't
All
agree
right.
more.
Good deal. Special teams. Looked like Parker Fleming was back today, Mike. Don't know if you felt the same way, but 3 straight punts out of bounds. Jaden Feeling actually lost his kickoff spot there. I mean, at a certain point, I was just kind of putting my hands up, like, what, dude? Just kick it straight and just kick it out of the end zone. Like, after 2, just kick it out of the end zone. Stop playing this game of like punt it short or kick it short or whatever. Like, just kick it out of the end zone. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't understand it. It was like, okay, if you're trying the directional kick, right? Then I remember Urban Meyer wanted to do that. But at least he used to make it to the end zone. His wasn't even making it to the end zone. Hey, it wouldn't even roll into the end zone. It's just rolling right out of bounds, like before even the 10-yard line. And I didn't understand it. I was like, are we doing this on purpose? Why would we do this on purpose? It doesn't make sense. I guess, the commentators were saying he got, I guess, a case of the yips. But didn't we see this the last time? Like, I think he did this a couple times before the last time we were out there. He kicked a couple balls out of bounds. This is something that needs to get correct. We're going into Big Ten play next week. This is not an issue that you can have. I don't want to hear anything about the yips, none of that. They got to correct this.
Yeah, you can't be giving up free yards like this. So whatever they got to do, whether it's put somebody else in there or whatever. But the good news is I feel like this year Ryan Day has his hands on a lot more than just the quarterbacks and the offense. So I have a feeling like Ryan Day is going to be watching some kickoffs this week, and Jaden Feeling might be feeling a little bit more pressure
Yeah.
on him to kick the ball well. we'll see what happens. But yeah, that was definitely something that was not super great to me. And I agree with you. It's happened before. It's just never been quite this egregious. 3 times in
Yeah.
a row, like, and especially with how much we were scoring too. I mean, there were so many plays where they were scoring, it just kind of like became evident and obvious. But in addition to that, we had Brandon Ennis, who almost housed one today. If he didn't slip and get beaten by the turf monster, who got the Earl dude for Marshall today too. But if he didn't slip, he would have housed that one. However, earlier in the game, he muffed the one, and thankfully for him, there was a phantom penalty that nobody really saw coming. That for whatever reason they decided to call it. I don't know. But what were your thoughts on the muffed punt?
Man, that's the thing about special teams. That's the thing about being a returner. The ball can do some crazy things, especially with the wind, with Gus. A Gus could have came in and just pushed it. It looked like the ball just came short from where he thought it was going to be. And I don't know. Only Brandon Ennis can tell us what really happened on that issue. Like, did it seem like the ball was coming up short because of the wind, or did he end up losing it in the sun at a certain point? That could also be a thing, but that's it's part of special teams, man. And when the sun's rising at high noon, right? you know, uh, it could be an issue. I mean, I've seen it in high school, in my playing days. I mean, you've seen it in the NFL, and it's not even just the sun. You hear about returners losing it in the light all the time. So just part of the game, man.
It is. It is. I played center field for a long time, and sunglasses were my best friend, especially on those early afternoon games. Because you're right, that sun is right above you, and trying to track that ball, it can be a little difficult. So
I
hopefully,
got a
Brendan
couple
is,
black eyes.
yeah, hopefully he'll correct it for next time. But yeah, I think that was probably the case as well. He probably just lost it. Looked like he was right there for it. Didn't look like he, had completely misjudged it
Mm-hmm.
overall, which is good to see. Just at the last second, kind of lost it, and it is what it is. We'll hope that it'll be corrected for next time. Mike Ryan Day was pretty fired up in this one. He got himself an unsportsmanlike penalty. Now Marshall did what we've seen a number of teams do, and you can argue that this was on Ryan Day or whoever the position coach was that was subbing late. I don't know who it was that was subbing late. You could argue this was their fault, but at the same time, when the play clock is all the way down at 3 and you still got the referee standing and not letting them snap the ball, like what are you supposed to do? And so I think eventually the unsportsmanlike penalty was for him going on the field, is what the announcers made it sound like. And his argument was, I was going on the field to call a timeout because you weren't letting us snap the ball. So it was kind of an unorthodox situation. And Ryan Day, I mean, even when after the the penalty was made, he was still going on and on and on about it. What do you think about it all, Mike?
Well, I'm gonna say this. I like fired up Ryan Day. I love it. And to be honest, Ryan Day was 1000% in the right in the way he handled it. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because if you go and after he got on them refs, guess who got a penalty later in the game for a late substitution? Marshall. Because guess what? It's a new NCAA rule that you can't just wait and sub and hope to get and cause the offense to get a delay a game because of your substitution. So Ryan Day was really in the right. And I think that's why they ended up making that call later in the game. Now imagine if he just let it go. Those refs wouldn't have been paying attention. And to be honest, um, I don't understand it, but every week I'll watch a Big Ten game and the Big Ten refs are in there. It's some of the worst officiating. How are you going to be one of the top two conferences and have some of the worst officiating in the game? And it's not, and I'm not saying this as a Buckeye fan or a fan of anything. I'm just saying this as a football fan because it's not just the Ohio State game. It's not. I seen it in the Penn State game. I seen it in the team up north games. I've seen it. It's bad. It's terrible.
Yeah, there's definitely a refereeing issue going on in the Big Ten, and it's not fun to see by any means. I don't understand why, like you said, this is one of the top two conferences, if not, I mean, it should be the best conference in college football, but they apparently can't figure out how to pay the referees. I don't know if the referees down south just study it more or what's going on, but in addition to that, it looked like this was the referees' very first time calling a game together at in and it was just like they were so disorganized. They had no idea what it looked like it was going on. It just terrible performance by them. And I'm with you. I'm glad Ryan Day gave it to him because I don't know if they would have got that penalty later on in the game. And I think that Ryan Day is figuring out that if he's not calling plays, he is able to get on these referees a little bit more, ride them, and make sure that they're making play calls or not play calls, making the penalty calls that make the most sense and are actually accurate to the rules of what's
Right.
going on. So I'm for it. There was some good news with one of the coaches, James Laurinaitis, offering Sincere Johnson. If you pay attention to everything else that's going on behind the scenes as well, you saw some crystal ball predictions coming in for Sincere to commit to Ohio State. I don't know if that means that he's committing today or if they just think he's that likely. But obviously, Glenville guy there, Mike. We love to see the Glenville guys get the offer and obviously commit to the Buckeyes. What were your thoughts?
Man, this was something that has been talked about for a couple weeks now, and us Buckeye fans have been waiting. Why isn't this guy getting this offer? And there's times where Ohio State just wanted to see more out of him, and he's been making plays. I think that this was a great move by Ohio State. And like I've been saying, you're going to the 105-man roster right now. There is no reason to take these guys, these Ohio guys, even if they're behind on development, because what? Developed here, right? Ohio State should be able to develop them. And I want to see these Ohio guys staying and coming to Ohio State because we see there's Ohio guys all over the NFL, and a lot of them did not play for Ohio State. So you know that the talent is there. And also, I love seeing my Cleveland guys, on the east side of Cleveland. Ted Ginn Sr. still doing this thing out there, getting these guys up out of Cleveland, man, with in a positive direction for their life. So I love seeing that. Man, shout out, man. I'm excited. I'm happy, man. Shout out Sincere Johnson. Shout out James Laurinaitis going up into Cleveland, getting this young man. Hope he enjoyed the game for sure.
For sure, man. I'm with you. It's all about the Ohio guys for me, getting as many of them as we possibly can. I understand there's some guys that just maybe aren't culture fits or maybe they don't have the right size. I get that, but I'm with you, especially with the 105 roster size coming out now with the scholarships and stuff. Like, get as many of these guys as you possibly can into the program because I think it helps so much with acclimating guys to what the tradition of Ohio State is. You have so many guys who are bought in. Some would argue that we wouldn't have had what we had if we didn't have the Ohio guy and Jack Sawyer with us. Now, obviously, he was no fringe recruit. They were going to try to get him no matter where he was from. But still, it just shows how much guys from Ohio care. And Ted Ginn Sr., what he has built up there in Glenville, and what he has been able to do with getting players to Ohio State, it's fantastic. And being an advocate for the program to them as well. There are some programs in Ohio that have guys who are from that team up north coaching there, and you best believe those guys are pushing for their guys to think about the team up north a little bit more. But I think Ted Ginn Sr., from everything I've seen, it just looks like he wants his guys to succeed. He wants the best for them. And if they're going to ask where he thinks they should go, he's going to lean the Buckeyes because he knows that is a place of development and that is a place that's going to treat him right.
For sure, man. And ain't no reason to go up there to that team up north, man. What's the point in going there?
Exactly.
All the greats from the great Glenville, Troy Smith, Marshawn Lattimore, Ted Ginn. I mean, the list just goes on and on. I don't really hear about no list about team up north in Glenville.
Mm-mm.
You know what I'm saying? So you want to be great, you know where to go.
Yeah, yeah, they know where to go. They know where to go, man. All right. Well, that's pretty much the game for us for Ohio State. Around the Big Ten, we got some other stuff that was happening. Illinois upsets Nebraska. They were what, 9 point dogs, 9.5 point dogs to Nebraska on the road. That was pretty special for Illinois to get that win. Obviously, our friend Dylan Raiola, he has a little bit of a hard time against Illinois. I don't know if you can blame some of the stuff on him, like that first pick. I don't know if that was more him or more the receiver, what was going on there. But at the end of the day, he's not able to pull out the win for Matt Rule. Matt Rule is now 2-20 against ranked teams in his career.
Hmm.
I think I read.
Yeah.
Illinois has 2 ranked wins this year. So that's pretty impressive for Illinois. Mike, what do you think on that game?
Yeah, honestly, it was a good game, and to be honest, I was really, even though they lost, I was still impressed with Dylan Raiola. You just saw at the end of the game, the freshman mistakes ended up coming um, into impacting them. Illinois went ahead, made adjustments, and Dylan Raiola just wasn't able to handle those. So I mean, shout out Illinois, Brett Bielema doing his thing. This is, everybody thought, hey, he lost his guy, Ryan, what's that? Ryan Walters to Purdue. He goes over there, and everybody just thought like Illinois wasn't gonna be this, but they still making plays. And that's what I told everybody. You gotta watch, because the quarterback for Illinois, he was making plays, man. And him and Dylan Raiola, to me, was coming into that game even when it comes statistics wise. Now, obviously, Dylan Raiola got the better upside, better talent, man. I think, as he gets more reps, gets better, gets further along in his career, kid's going to be a nice talent, going to be a force to be reckoned with. But you're going to see those freshman mistakes.
Yeah, that is if he sticks with Nebraska his entire career. I think he switched his school like every year since since his freshman year. No,
Oh,
I'm just messing with him. He's gonna stick with Nebraska, I'm sure, as long as Matt Rule is
his
there.
uncle's there. His uncle's there.
Yeah, and his uncle's there. He's got family history, so I'm just messing with him. But yeah, I think he's gonna be good for Nebraska. It just seems like if you're a struggling program, just go get a 5-star quarterback. That seems to fix things, right? Just go pony up the money, go get a 5-star. Things get a lot better. This other thing going on, I know some people are paying attention to it. We got people talking about it in the chat. That team up north is up 7-0 on USC right now, talking about how they look good. I don't know if they look good other than they just had one good run. Alex Orji still can't throw. The defense is stopping USC pretty well, and they almost got a pick just now. But
Yep.
I mean, what's your thoughts on this team up north and USC game? It's a little bit closer than I think some people would have thought in the second quarter.
Well, here's the thing, and this is what I was telling some of my guys this morning, because they was like asking me, Mike, what's the picks? What's the picks? And I was saying, I'm like, the team up north is going to come out in something that probably hasn't been put on film all year, starting the game off, coming out scripted, right? So you're going to see them. And that's the edge right now that they have in the game. Now it's up to USC's defensive coordinator to go ahead and make those adjustments in the game, which I believe that he will. But that's going to have to come either second quarter, in the middle of the second quarter, or in the second half is when those adjustments are going to come. Some guys able to adjust quicker than that. But USC first year, learning this new system, new defense, I think it's going to probably take them in the half. But we knew that the team of North had a great defense on their side of the ball. USC is going to end up scoring points. Don't think Lincoln Riley can't score points. He's going to score points once everything settles down. This is gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. But like I said, the team up north came out with the edge because they're able to go ahead, show some things that hasn't been put on film. But once you're able to make those adjustments, and then when your quarterback has to throw the ball, what happens then? Because
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that's the key for USC. They got to generate some offense here, and you're right. There's no way that Lincoln Riley gets shut out. It's just not going to happen.
yeah,
Now they don't have Caleb Williams. They don't have Baker Mayfield. They don't have some of those Heisman guys. I think Miller Moss is still good though. He has been improving a little bit here as the game has gone on. we'll see how it goes as they continue on. But at the end of the day, Lincoln Riley is one of the best in the business offensively, and he's got the best quarterbacks of anybody in college football year after year. And he's been doing it the longest for quite some time now. So don't have any concerns there with USC's offense. It's more or less if Michigan does figure out a way to score and stay ahead in the game, that's when I think you get a little bit more concerned, because the key is to get them to play from behind, so they do have to throw
Right.
the ball more. But I mean, man, I've been watching this kind of on the side as you've been talking. I've been kind of keeping an eye on it. That offensive line is getting worked. USC is destroying them, pushing them back. I mean, I saw they took that left guard, who's supposed to be one of the better offensive linemen for him, pushed him back 5 yards on a QB run. It's just like, yeesh, yeah, that's not what you want to see if you're a Team Up North fan. So looks like USC to me is winning the line of scrimmage right now, most plays, and I think it'll continue for the rest of the game.
And then that ends up wearing on the team. But hey, my thing is this: it's Ohio State versus everybody. Don't care whichever team wins or whatever. It is what it is. Still gonna see them boys in November, because it's gonna be back to reality for that team up north when they step foot in Columbus. Just letting them know that right now. So enjoy your little USC game, because November is coming soon.
Yeah, they're not gonna like what happens when they come down here for November. I think they'll have a tough time and won't have a very good day that day. So, all right, and then next week, Michigan State. That is the 28th next week. No bye week until another one in October. So you'll get us every single Saturday here for a good amount of time. I think the Oregon game and then a bye week, I think it is. So up until the Oregon game, you'll get us every single week right after the game. Do we have a start time for that one yet, Mike? Do you remember?
No, I don't even think I put the time in there, because I think it said TBD. It was still to be determined. But there is rumors that it could be a night game.
This is the Peacock. This is the 7:00 Peacock.
Oh, well then there you go.
Yep. So we'll be here late at night after the Peacock game. So if you don't have Peacock, you can come in here and we'll tell you all about the game and everything that happens. So check us out next week, and then every week after that, like I said, leading up to the Oregon game, be another bye, and then every Saturday after that as well. Mike, you got anything else before we get out of here, man?
No, sir. Hey, we came out, a little sluggish after the bye week, Buckeye fans. Just keep believing in the team, man. Keep rooting. Don't be too harsh on them. Come back next week in conference play. Take care of business against Michigan State, man. Go Bucks and OH.
IO. Like and subscribe, everybody. We'll see you next time.
For sure.
Blessings, us.